I'm Eric Schumacher Rasmussen. Welcome to another Workflow Wednesday. There are times during a live event where you need to bring in a pre-recorded video as part of the production. And there are plenty of times during development where you might want to use a pre-recorded video as a source to test out various elements of your workflow. Luckily, Norsk Studio makes it easy to do just that with our file input component. And here's Adrian Rowe to show you how.
File input is a super useful component, especially during development. A lot of times you'll have multiple cameras that are coming from live sources and so on and so forth. While you're building a workflow, it'd be very, very helpful not to have to bother with setting up your cameras and sources and so on, but to have clearly divisible content. The file input does exactly what it says on the tin. It provides inputs from your file context. A couple of really important things about the file input and anything to do with paths. So a little bit of detail here. I'm going to give it the name of a file. We're working inside a virtualized environment here, virtualized with Docker. So I need to give it the name of the file inside my Docker container. The default that we use for that is that all data lives in a data folder and that things like media assets and so on live in a folder called assets underneath that. So typically you're going to say something like /data for the file name, /data /assets /action.mp4. But that path needs to make sense to the Norsk container, and our example scripts up Docker and so on make sure that the Studio mapping and the Norsk mapping are the same in a production environment. Just a little thing to be aware of. That's the path inside the Norsk media container that you need to be providing there. Do you want to loop? Do you initially want to start it in a playing state or a pause state? Do you want to start at a particular offset into that stream? Do I want to start 10 seconds in and so on? That's especially useful for debug and things like that, where there was something of interest that you want to explore 50 seconds into the stream. Yeah, that's a great way of having that. Often when I'm setting up file source as a substitute for a camera while I'm developing workflows, I'll just drop in the asset and hit loop. And again, that allows us to go to something like the preview component and take a quick look at what's going on. Here's two I've joined together where I've got a file I know happens to be there. If I hit go, then things wake up and there's a picture of somebody skiing. This is a vaguely interesting one, so I will go into it in a little bit more detail. As the ability to set it up and design it and so on at runtime. Norsk, and this goes for every component, gives you a way of controlling and monitoring that component at runtime. So if I just click on live docs, that's going to take me to a description of the interface that particular workflow that we're currently running. So there we've got that file input. I can tell it to play a different file. I can ask it what file it's currently playing. I can tell it to pause and so on. So if I go in here and I hit pause, then if I come back here, you'll see that there's now no media flowing. If I hit resume and I execute that one, you'll see that the media is up and flowing again from the position that it previously was at. Yeah, super useful. Again, can be used for things like, I've got a live production, I want to switch to a trailer or something like that, promo video. One of the elements that's interesting there is in initial state of playing or paused. So one of the things we'll do, if it's like an MP4, we'll read the MP4 index at load time so that we can seek to various places efficiently and quickly. That can mean that for very big files in particular, it can take a second or two to load that up. So one of the things that we would recommend doing when you maybe got a playout server that you're building with Studio is that you would load up the asset in a pause state initially, 10 seconds before you need it to go live or 5 minutes before you need it to go live, and then you'd switch to it and unpause it. That tends to give you more accurate timings and a snappier response. So there you go. File input, very useful little component.
So there you have it. You can get more details in the Norsk Studio section at docs.norsk.video. And if you have any suggestions or requests for future Workflow Wednesdays, drop them in the comments. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.